Hey, hello, it's Lex, and today we're going to be talking about some Harry Potter. As I mentioned in my May wrap-up and June TBR, this summer I'm planning on doing an entire reread of the Harry Potter series, and I'm going to go through the books one by one and do a little bit of a book talk kind of ordeal with all of them. Because of that, we're obviously starting with the first one, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, depending on where you're from, because America got the stupid title. If you want to skip ahead to my actual talking about the book instead of talking about me talking about the series in general, this is the timestamp. Feel free to go there now. I have never read this series straight through, like book 1 to book 7. Ever. I started them when I was 9, so I read this one when I was 9, and I read through about the first 4, and then I would go back and read one, and then I would go forward and read one, and then I would go back and read one, and I don't know why I never actually just sat down and put the series together, but I'm finally doing it as an adult. So the last time that I read this book, I was about 13 years old. I am now 20 years old, so this is my first adult reread of this book in particular, and I have some thoughts and I wanted to share them with you. First of all, I just want to say that Harry Potter is seriously and genuinely one of my favorite things in the entire world. Like Harry Potter is in the series. Good old J.K. Rowling is not necessarily my favorite individual in the entire world, especially now that she keeps, adding things, but that's really not important to what we're going to be talking about in the books. So for the most part, we're going to be discarding most of that and talking about mostly just what is happening in the books as I'm reading them. Harry Potter got me through a lot of crazy stuff when I was younger. I have written and continue to write Harry Potter fanfiction because I'm a friggin' nerd. And I just thought it was due time that I went through and I did a whole entire do-over of the series. So without further ado, sorry I talked really long, we're just gonna get on. Alright, so first of all, I forgot what it's like to pick up the first Harry Potter book for the, first time and be immersed in this awesome world that is so cool and it's so fun. I forgot how long the exposition was. In my opinion, the first 50 to 60 pages are almost entirely just exposition. Because we start out, with at the very beginning with Vernon going to work one day, and we've got this whole weird, there are people in cloaks with weird funny clothes wandering around and whispering, and they're talking to each other, and there's this air of mystery, and everyone's woo, because just before Harry Potter had defeated Voldemort, good old Tom. And, so, the wizarding world is rejoicing, and Vernon is, kind of this weird, I'm not a fan. We cut to Dumbledore talking with, Minerva and Hagrid, when they leave Harry on the doorstep of the Dursleys for him to be brought up there. Dumbledore, he leaves his note so that Harry will know who he is, which, as we're all aware, the Dursleys, they don't tell him. He lives his entire adolescence having no idea who he is, where he comes from, what's in his blood. He has no idea. He doesn't know that he's a wizard until page 47 or something like that. In the 3rd chapter, I think, is when their letters start appearing. Yeah, so on page 31 is when we get the letters, but we have Hagrid show up around page 50. So Harry doesn't know that he's a wizard until about 50 pages into this 300-page book. So that's a good chunk of exposition. I'm not saying that I think that's a bad thing. I actually don't think that's a bad thing. So yeah, really long exposition. Speaking of exposition, the pacing in this book was not as amazing as I kind of remember it being. I mean, I gave it a 5 on Goodreads. I love this book. I enjoyed it so much. I read it in a day and a half. I wiped it out. I read it really fast. I really enjoy it. But the pacing was not as amazing as I imagined. So we've got 50 pages of exposition, plus another 20 pages of like exposition-ish stuff, where he's like in Diagon Alley and he's like learning about all the stuff, you know, so that's another 20 or so pages. And then we don't get like real legitimate action until, I would say, like 120 pages into the book. I mean, you know, we have like the little conflicts, like, oh no, what house am I gonna be in? Oh no, like, this rude little blonde boy doesn't like Hagrid, etc. Right? Like, there are small conflicts, but we don't have any actual, like, super legitimate action until about 120 pages into the book. And then a lot of the, like, very intense action doesn't happen until, like, page 200 and something. So it's very back heavy on the action side, but it's still well written, it's still engaging. The exposition isn't boring. I have a question. If you know the answer, let me know down below. Is the snake he lets free Nagini? I say Nagini, I don't remember if that's right. Because I like vaguely in the back of my mind remember good old Joan mentioning that. Another question, why doesn't Harry scar hurt when he first meets Quirrell? It's another thing that, like, it's not bad. I like, if you know the answer or you have an idea, like, let me know. Let's talk about some characters, because characters are fun. Harry, you know, he's great. How could you hate him? He's Harry. He's written to be loved. He's our eyes through which we see most of the world. Forgot how much I loved Hagrid in the books. Forgot how much of a rule breaker he is in the books, because it's just kind of like glossed over in the movies, which, like I said, I haven't read this book in a really long time, so like, I've seen the first movie, significantly more recent than I read the books, but you know, with the whole like dragon egg subplot, we've got the whole, his wand is in the umbrella and he uses it a lot, and I didn't remember him using it a lot. I just remember in the books, the tapping to get into Diagon Alley on the bricks, and giving Dudley a tail. Those are the two, like, major things that I remember, but he's kind of a rule breaker. I like it. I like Hagrid. I think Hagrid is an interesting character. I forgot how annoying Hermione was at the beginning. You know, everyone loves Hermione so much. I like Hermione. Hermione's not my, like, absolute favorite character. She's also not even kind of my least favorite character. But I forgot how much of a kind of like little prat she is at the beginning. It takes her a good long while to be like bearable, and maybe that's just because we see the world through like the Harry lens. Even though it's in third person, it still follows him pretty much exclusively. So that might have a good deal to do with why I felt that way reading it. But yeah, she just like kind of was annoying almost the entire first book. On the flip side, I liked Ron way more than I remember liking Ron, because I never liked Ron, like ever. I always was kind of like, about Ron, but he was bearable and sweet and funny, but also kind of a little jerk, but also most 11-year-olds are kind of jerks, so like, and by jerk I mean he's mostly just a jerk to Hermione, but Draco is a little piece of crap. And that makes me sad, because I do love Draco very, very much. I've talked about this on my channel before, more than once. Another thing is, all of the professors seem like 20% incompetent, just a little bit throughout the story. Like, they make dumb choices, and they're humans, and I'm a human, and I make dumb choices, so I get it. I just, like, forgot that. Also, knowing Dumbledore throughout the series, I don't like Dumbledore very much. I like respect Dumbledore, and I respect him as a character, but I don't really like him. Like isn't really the word I would use to describe my feelings for Dumbledore. So like, I don't know, I just like, it felt to me rereading it, like it was set up in such a way that like none of the teachers could have prevented all of the mishaps and etc., you know, and whatnot. And here Dumbledore is just like giving Harry nudges until he like saves the day. He's an 11-year-old. I think it's really easy for me to forget how young they actually are in the first book, but they're 11 years old. Like, I was dumb. I'm still dumb. Could I have done this? No. Seems fake. But also, I think it's, you know, a really cool way to start Harry's story, to start, you know, from the very beginning. The reason we're following Harry Potter is because he's a special boy, right? That's why we're not following Hermione, that's why we're not following Draco. I mean, sure, they're special too in their own ways, but like, Harry is just genuinely, like, extraordinary in ways that no other character in the series is. And that's why he's the protagonist, and that's what carries the story. I don't know where I was going with that. I entirely just forgot about the dragon smuggling. Just straight up, I forgot it was there. Let's take a second and talk about houses, okay? So as we know, all three of the, like, main character students are Gryffindors. As we know, all three of the main character students, Harry, Hermione, Ginny, are all Gryffindors. A lot of the supporting characters, also Gryffindors. You got your Neville, your Fred, your George, your Percy, etc., etc., etc. They're, you know, way too many to count. We've got our Slytherin antagonists, Draco Crabbe-Goyle. That's pretty much it in the first book. So you get like 50 pages in before Hufflepuff is insulted and they're in Madame Mulkin's, and Draco's all like, if I were a Hufflepuff, I would just go home. I'd quit, because, you know, he's a little brat. But like, that's it. That's all we get to know about Hufflepuffs for the entire book, is like that, and then that no one is in it. And for Ravenclaw, they're not even really mentioned almost at all, except for in passing, like, Ravenclaw would be fine, I guess. Which a couple of the students say. I think Ron says it, I think Draco might say it. I don't know if Hermione says it. I actually don't know if Hermione says it. I just read it, I should maybe know that. But my main problem is this dumb dichotomy that she makes where, like, Gryffindor equals good, Slytherin equals evil. And she starts it off so fast. You know what? We don't even kind of make it. I think the Slytherins are insulted before Hufflepuffs are, if I recall. They might not be. It might be actually Hagrid and Harry talking after he's met. Oh yeah, because it's after, because he asks about it. Hagrid said, there's not a witch or wizard that goes bad that wasn't in Slytherin. Famous line. Can we just take 2 seconds to acknowledge that that is bullshit? Because I can start listing. I'm only going to list 2. We're going to take 10 seconds and talk about the fact that Quirrell was a Ravenclaw. He's a piece of shit. He literally had the Dark Lord living on the back of his head, and they're like, Slytherins are the only evil ones. I've also got freaking Peter Pettigrew. I know we're not there yet, but we're gonna talk about him anyway. Peter Pettigrew, freaking Gryffindor. He was a Gryffindor, wasn't he? Yeah, he was. He betrayed the Potters and they died for it. And then he serves him until he... Sorry, I'm a Slytherin. I have so many strong feelings. I genuinely believe with all of my heart, maybe I'll make an entire video just on houses, not now, but like sometime in the future, that like ambition and cunning and like resourcefulness, the things that are like Slytherin's thing, I genuinely think that Joan doesn't find them desirable traits. Like, I think she thinks they're negative personality traits. And since writing the books, you know, she's also said some questionable things regarding Slytherins on Twitter. One time she said that not all Slytherins are racist, but if you're racist, you're in Slytherin. And I just think it's kind of bullshit for her to be able to be like, every person in this entire group of people is just Satan. Like, if you're a Slytherin, you're just bad. Like, sorry about it, because that's so not true. And every house is really deep and complex, and the Hufflepuffs get slept on, and the Ravenclaws get slept on, and the Slytherins are demonized, and the only house that she ever says anything good about is Gryffindor. And I'm mad about it. I'm sorry I just ranted about this in my book talk. I guess it's not really that significant. We'll move on. Once again, I gave this a 5 on Goodreads. I thought it was great. I had so much fun rereading it. I would absolutely love to talk about it with any of you. If you want to like leave a comment, we can chat. I would love to chat. I want to know your thoughts. I'm happy to have reread it, and I can't wait to continue on. I also have finished the second book, so be on the lookout for that one very soon. I hope you're having a fabulous day, and I will see you all next week. Bye!